I'm Julia Sines. I work for Samsung Austin Semiconductor, and I am a process engineer. So at Samsung, we have many different departments, different groups. If you're not sure what Samsung does, we don't just make cell phones and TVs. We make chips, and so that's what we're doing here in Austin, Texas. Is we're manufacturing chips, semiconductors. So we have a wafer that is split into many chips, and it can go into anything that needs electricity to turn on and off. So a GPS, a phone, a TV, refrigerator. Right now, we're very strong in the automotive business because that's the new up and coming business for semiconductor industries. In my current position, I am a process engineer. So at Samsung, we are split up into different departments based on the steps it takes to make a semiconductor. I am specifically in the photolithography department. And if you've never heard that word before, that's okay. I never heard it till I joined Samsung. But we have all types of engineers. Process, equipment, we have programmers, we have quality engineers. So there's all types. I'll go more into my specific role as we go on. So why did I choose this field, the semiconductor tech industry? Well, being an engineer, graduating with an engineering degree, there are so many different options. There's oil and gas, there's tech, there's food industry, anything that needs to be improved and just needs to be made better can use engineers. So specifically for the tech industry, it's something that interests me, and it's also very challenging. I learn a lot, and I think the skills that Samsung has given me can help me further propel my career, not only at Samsung, but anywhere else. It's very versatile to work in the tech industry. There's a lot of different companies, and it's fun. I would just say it's fun. Next question. What level of training was required? So to be hired on as an engineer, you have to have an engineering degree. For different companies, that may vary, but you'll definitely need a college degree, and most likely in science. If you have a Bachelor of Arts, they're not going to be likely to hire you as an engineer, but you could do a Bachelor of Science in Physics or Math instead of engineering and get hired on that way. But what's important is that you need the engineering degree. At my job at Samsung, we have a high school student who didn't go to college, and so he doesn't have a college degree. He got hired on and he does programming. However, he is a contractor, so he's not a direct employee. So he doesn't get the same salary or benefits or any time off. And so it makes a world of a difference. I would say even if you want to work first before going to college, I would recommend going to college and getting your Bachelor's of Science, because it really shows that you have that will and determination to accomplish something. So entry-level positions at Samsung. There are definitely entry-level positions. They're always looking to hire, especially college graduates. That doesn't mean only college graduates, but most tech companies, most big companies have a program for students who have graduated recently. The programs will be in January and June. So for December and May graduates, you'll need to make sure you apply to a job before you graduate, well before, maybe like 3 or 4 months before you graduate. You want to start applying and interviewing. And there's always entry-level positions for all different departments. Don't let a job description scare you. Still go for the interview. And, you know, the interview is not just for the company to learn about you, but it's also for you to learn about the company and see if you would like to work there. So use that to your advantage. Apply. And yes, there are entry-level positions in just about all tech companies. You just have to put your resume out there. Of course, it is important if you know somebody who works there, maybe they can help you get your resume to somebody that can help you with an internship, like a HR person, but definitely apply. Don't be discouraged. As far as working up the ladder, so this recent year, I was able to get a promotion. Yay. Was that working up the ladder? Well, I would say yes and no. It's very important to work on your skills. So, as I mentioned earlier, when I first started at Samsung, I never heard of the word photolithography, and that's the department I'm in. So, basically, work at your craft, work at what you were hired for, always learn from everyone around you, from your senior engineers, from those who are on other teams, other departments. You want to gather all these skills, you want to be good at it. It's also important to make good relationships, I would say, as well. You don't want to work really hard and then because you just never talk to your boss, then he doesn't even know what you did. And so when it comes time for your review to talk about should you get a nice bonus, should you get a raise or a promotion, if he feels like he doesn't really know you, it's only going to be up to what's on the paper. And it's important to make good relationships. You can definitely work your way up the ladder, I would say, at pretty much any company. And that's through your technical skills and through making sure people know who you are. As far as salary goes, engineers make a good salary. And I would say that as you work hard, you can definitely, at least for Samsung, everybody comes in at the same amount. They hire everybody at the same amount. Other companies may do more depending on your field of engineering. But where it differs at Samsung is that depending on your review and how much you did for that year, you can really be bumped up a couple thousand or not as much. So I would say if anyone has any other specific questions, you can always reach out to me about those, but definitely work hard at your craft. Make sure that your superiors know what you did, because that will help you increase. Okay, explaining what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I recently changed teams, but on this new team, what I do in the morning when I come in, so Samsung is a manufacturing company, and the way it's set up is there's a bunch of cubes, probably how you've seen in movies, with engineers at their desks working on laptops. That is one group. That's like the process group and quality group. There's also the equipment side. And for the equipment side, they're the ones who go in and fix tools because we are manufacturing wafers every day. We have tools that are really big, about the size of a car, slightly bigger than that are printing our wafers, making the chips. And anytime one of them breaks down, the equipment guys, they run into the fab, which is the fabrication plant, and they go fix the tools. They're the ones screwing parts, pouring chemicals, like leveling it out, figuring out all the mechanical issues. So there are both options at Samsung, and there'll be both options at most companies. But in my day-to-day, I'm more of the desk job. So I check on projects that I have going on. I have many different projects going on just concerning running, like, for example, we have a recipe that takes 145 seconds to coat a wafer with photoresist, and my job is to reduce that. So I'm looking at like how long are we pouring the resist on, how long is the wafer spinning, how long is the resist just puddling there in the center, all those things. And then I write up different tests and I run different test wafers through, and we have defect scans where I can check, is our defect going up, down, staying the same? So I have different projects like that. And in the morning, the first thing I do is check on my projects, see if anything that I ran last night has new data. Of course, there are all the administrative things like your email, your chats, things like that. Every day, your boss, or at least my boss, sends out kind of what you need to do today. So aside from projects, there will always be daily tasks. And that's true of any company. That's true also in school. you'll have projects and you have your daily tasks or more of like tasks with deadlines. So you have to be able to prioritize what's more important. You need to make progress on your projects, but you also need to make sure you hit the deadlines for all those mini assignments that you get. So that's pretty much my day-to-day projects, check all the administrative stuff, and then work on those day-to-day things, make sure I get them done. If there's ever something that won't be done by the deadline, it's very important that I communicate that to my boss, that I provide an explanation of what was taking up my time, or why is it okay that this deadline is not met, because things are critical. Okay, so what do I like about my job? What do I enjoy most about Samsung? Well, I do really love working for Samsung. Um, but basically, so some matter of fact things are like the insurance, all the normal things, salary. Those are really awesome. I think Samsung's very competitive for all of those things. So definitely that's an A plus from Samsung. I also like all the perks, like we have a fall festival every year, or they have like a petting zoo and a zip line and all this stuff. They give us free tickets sometimes to like theme parks. So those are really cool. But one of the things that I enjoy the most, and I think it's very important for any job, is your coworkers and the relationships around you. You got to make sure you like who you are working with because you spend a lot of time with them. Um, I so like I said, I just switched teams. On my old team, I made really great relationships, love my boss, love my team. On this new team, I'm still getting to know them, but so far so good. I think it's super important though that you like who you're working with, and I would say that's what I enjoy the most is those relationships I've made. A very close second, maybe the same, is also what I'm actually working with, the semiconductors and photolithography, understanding like how each layer is put on, understanding how we're testing just the electric to be like how it all works, how small we're printing, where all these chips are going, and which type of device and interface, what product. So that really interests me as well, how these defects are created, how can we remove them. So that's also important. If you're going to go into oil or gas just because that makes a lot of money, but you think that's super boring, I definitely wouldn't recommend it. Do something that will interest you, that you can continue to grow in, and that you like. Maybe you're not sure. Well, then start somewhere. So you'll start to find out what you like as you get going. Okay, so what academic knowledge do I need? Or what academic knowledge do you need? Like I mentioned before, I think a college degree is very beneficial to getting you a job. It doesn't have to be an engineering job, just getting a job in general. A bachelor's degree is very useful. Why? Because it shows that you know how to deal with pressure because you'll have pressure from tests, different pressure than high school. It shows that you can finish something because you finished 4 years of this. It shows that you are resourceful, that you know how to find answers to solutions. So a lot of times you get stuck and you have to ask the professor for help or ask your peers or just, spend 4 hours on an assignment. It shows that you can deal with that. And also that you can make relationships and talk to people because it's very hard to get through college without talking to anybody. So definitely a degree. And as far as specifics in that degree, math, science, depending on which field you're going to, you can choose a certain type of engineering. I want to say one point is that at Samsung, what they care about is that you have a degree in engineering. It doesn't specifically have to be electrical, chemical. I'm personally industrial engineering. What they care is that you have the degree because then they will teach you everything you need to know. When I was hired at Samsung, they put me through 5 college courses to learn about semiconductors. And a lot of tech companies, they want to know that you have that degree. If you want to do something more specific like programming, maybe a computer science degree would be more beneficial, but I've also seen people at my job that didn't have a computer science degree, but they started working on it. They told their boss that's what they want to do, and now their job is a programmer. So you can definitely explore different fields. Just make sure you go through that time to get that education. It will help you get a better quality of life, I would say. Okay, so personal protection equipment, PPE. Let's talk about safety. So safety is very important. Safety is number one at Samsung, should be number one everywhere else. But it's very important that we're safe. If we're not safe, we could get hurt. And if we get hurt, we can't even do our job. So safety is definitely a number one thing. It's outlined anytime something unsafe happens. There's a huge meeting with countermeasures. How can we add defense lines so that people don't have the same mistake happen again? As I mentioned, I'm a process engineer and I'm doing mostly work at the desk. So my safety is more of just, not walking and texting. That's a huge thing. But for equipment engineers and people who are working on the tools, doing more mechanical things, they have to definitely use the goggles, hard hats, steel toe boots, chemical resistant gloves, face shields, depending on what type of work they're doing. So that's definitely all outlined and that is provided. So your company should provide that for you. If you ever don't feel safe, you need to let your supervisor know. But I personally don't use much safety equipment. Talking about COVID-19, specifically during this time, it's very challenging, very different. It's completely changed the way that I go to work. Samsung is definitely working on the work from home. As you can see, I'm not in an office right now. But they also have some people working on site, and Samsung in general is very strict on information and very strict on need to know. So generally, and most tech companies are probably like this. Samsung makes you go through almost like airport security every time you come in. So you have to send all your stuff through an x-ray machine, and then you have to go through a metal detector. And our phones, either you have to put a sticker on the camera, or there's an app you can download that whenever you badge in, your camera app is gone and disabled. So that's because we don't want any information leaking out. Now with COVID-19, the way it is, we have a link online where you can fill out a paper form of 8 questions about: have you been in contact with somebody that has COVID-19? Have you ridden on an airplane? Different questions. And if you answer everything in the form of no, I haven't, meaning you haven't been at risk for anything, that means you pass. So that's like one checkpoint. And then the second checkpoint we're going through these days is temperature reading. So we have different people with like masks on and lab coats on that'll take our temperature. And so after you pass that checkpoint, then you can go through the metal detector and all of that. We also we have 2 cafeterias, so now all of our food is already packaged. There's no open food that you're ordering. We also have 2 gyms. Those are both closed now. We used to have like a soccer league and all of this stuff. That's definitely closed. In meetings, we used to have up to like 50 people in a meeting, but now we have stickers marked on certain spots at the tables to where people can sit, and if there are more people than there are stickers, then some people have to leave because we can't get too close. A lot of meetings are online, and it's definitely changed a lot, but it's still going. Work hasn't stopped. People still need chips, so it's still going. Okay, I wish I had like a wafer to show you or a reticle, which is the mask, the glass piece that goes above the wafer that our laser, the scanner tool shoots down and creates that pattern at like a microscopic level on the wafer. I wish I had that for you to show you. I have it at my desk. No cameras are allowed at Samsung, so I couldn't do this here over there. But are there any questions for me?
Yes, Julia, they have some questions here. One individual wrote, can this career be modified for an individual with disability?
Oh, 100%. Definitely. Not sure which disability you mean in particular, but if that's like a wheelchair or maybe just something else like with typing that would affect your typing or your speech or anything else, definitely. We can make modifications. I've seen it done before, and yeah, any company will be able to help with a disability.
To stay with inclusion, do you feel this profession is more male dominant or is it equally diverse?
That's a great question. uh, it is male dominant, but that I wouldn't say that that should discourage anybody, male or female. I've actually, because being a recent grad and going into meetings and just being wowed by the fact that I'm working at Samsung, I paid attention to who's in these meetings. Am I the only girl? And a lot of times, like if there's 10 people in the meeting, there'll be about 3 girls or women. On my team, there's only 2 women, me being one of them, and we're a team of 14, I believe. So it is dominant. It's dominantly male, but I haven't experienced any issues with that. People see you as a person and they expect the same from you as they do from the males, and they don't treat you any differently. Um, just maybe a little kinder in their words, but it's definitely not an issue. It's never been an issue for me. You're definitely held in the same regard. You're still invited to all the meetings, still get all the assignments. And yeah, I wouldn't let it discourage anybody.
What words of encouragement or suggestions do you have for a high schooler in suggesting their extracurricular activities or any summer programs they may want to participate in to pursue a role like yours?
Okay. So high school, such a fun time. Extracurriculars, definitely if there's anything that is related to science, technology, engineering, math, if there's any kind of program, like maybe some kind of college program that'll let you come for a week and you engage in some competition, or maybe there's a high school organization that's focused on, problem solving, robotics, or something like that. Definitely, I would recommend that just because the more related items you can put on your resume, the better. The more you have to talk about, the more experience you have. Um, it doesn't have to be all of that. I wasn't in robotics in high school, but I definitely stuck with those pre-AP and AP classes and made sure that I did the best I could in those. So definitely shoot for, if you can, the pre-AP, AP. Make sure, even if you're not in those, that you're getting those A's. Um, as far as extracurriculars, like I said, anything in the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, math. Uh, if there's any program going on with a college that you like or with your high school or any outside organization, definitely take part in that. That's very important, I would say. But you can do it. I mean, even if it's not, if you are solving a problem, you can definitely talk about that. So, problem solving for sure.
What about the importance of your college GPA when you're a new hire? How important is that for someone who is applying for a position as an engineer?
Great question. GPA, it's important when you're first coming out of college. Other than that, no one really looks at it. But when you're first coming out of college, I would say it's important. So there are a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of fields out there. And Samsung is one that I think you have to have at least a 3.0. There's other ones that if you didn't have a 3.5, they didn't want to see your resume. That was definitely harsh because I didn't have a 3.5. Um, but I would say it's important if you're trying to go for a specific company. It is important to keep it up in general, but it's still possible to get a great job even if you don't have a 3.0. I have friends who had like 2.8. Engineering's tough. And they still got great jobs. They're not working at Samsung, but I would say definitely work on your GPA. Remember, you can Q drop. I don't recommend Q dropping, but if you really think you need to, you can Q drop. Q drop means that you are almost towards the end of the semester and you realize, I can't do this class, I'm going to have a bad grade. That means you can just take that class off your schedule and it won't count on your GPA. GPA is important, but don't let it define you because you will find a job no matter what your GPA is. Just know that some companies do have specifics.